I'm pretty sure that the 2001 movie Frailty is Bill Paxton's best work. He directed the movie, he also co-stars in it. And the story centers on a man named Fenton Meeks who tells an FBI agent that his brother Adam is the God's Hand serial killer. Fenton also tells the agent that in their childhood, their father, Dad Meeks, would kill human beings that he believed were demons disguised as humans. It's a pretty disturbing film. And if a man was arrested as a serial killer and he insisted that his victims were all really demons masquerading as human beings, what would you think? Would you give that defense any credibility at all? I'm suspecting that you would not. A couple days ago, Frank Turek posted this tweet. He said, another mistake when someone says God is immoral is assuming that God cannot possibly have morally justified reasons for doing something if we can't figure out what those reasons are. So here he's saying, just because you don't know why God did something doesn't mean it's unethical or morally wrong for God to have done that. The problem here is that what Turek is addressing in particular, one of the things he's certainly addressing is biblical violence and God commanding and commending actions that we think to be morally wrong, like killing children. So I retweeted Turek and commented. I said, Frank wants you to believe God had good reasons to command the killing of Amalekite children and infants, specifically described in 1 Samuel 15:3. If you can justify child slaughter, you can justify anything. I mean, just think about it. If you read about a person who killed an infant, a healthy infant, and you can justify their action, yes, you can justify anything. Anything goes. Complete moral chaos. Whenever I tweet this kind of thing, criticizing apologists for defending utterly immoral and indefensible positions, what inevitably happens is there are Christians that will come out on social media, on Twitter or whatever, and they will then offer the most heinous and implausible and offensive defenses of those very actions of things like child killing and civilian slaughter. And that's predictably what happened after I tweeted this. Someone commented below, and I've removed their Twitter account. I don't think it needs to be involved in the conversation. But here's what they said. Are you God? You created a universe? So, first of all, as if you have to be God in order to make moral judgments, as if you have to be have created a universe in order to make moral judgments. And then he says this, sorry, first world bro, you don't get to second guess God for what he does, as if opposition to child killing is a unique preoccupation of the first world. And then he says this, maybe they were demons. And then goes on, maybe they had a plague that could wipe out humanity. Like, right, maybe they were zombies. Hey, why not? And then he goes on from there. But I want to focus on that claim. Maybe they were demons. I mean, that looks familiar, right? It's no different than Dad Meeks in the movie Frailty saying he was not really a serial killer of humans. He was a serial killer of demons because every time he saw a demon who was pretending to be human, he would kill them. And likewise, this fellow is saying maybe God was just commanding the Amalekite slaughter of infants and children because they were all actually secretly demons. Oh, what should we think about this? Now, the fellow who tweeted this, he describes himself on his Twitter account as a quote, father of two, grandfather of two. Now, I'm not suggesting that people who tweet this kind of thing and make these kinds of defenses are at greater risk of engaging in similar sorts of actions and rational justifications like Dad Meeks did in the movie Frailty. I'm going to think in the vast majority of cases, they are vastly better than their theology and apologetics. But that doesn't change the fact that this is an extremely disturbing claim and one that should be a five-alarm fire for Christians. I've been talking about these issues in churches and church contexts for 15 years, and time and again. I mean, you can go into any congregation and you can pointedly raise these issues of biblical violence and divinely commanded child slaughter and civilian indiscriminate slaughter and genocide in any sufficiently sized population of Christians in a church. And you will typically get a range of responses. The two primary responses is you're going to get some people saying, that just can't be right. There's got to be another way to think about that. They had never been forced to confront the implications of their belief. And when it is laid bare, then they say there must be another way, even if they don't know what that is. And of course, I wrote the book Jesus Loves Canaanites to provide another way, which I've linked below. But the other response are people like this fellow who will double down on these heinous defenses, like saying, well, maybe the children really were demons after all, which is no different than Dad Meeks, one of the serial killers in the movie Frailty. And when you start arguing that infants are possibly demons, and that's why infants needed to be slaughtered, that is the time to do a significant heart check and head check and to recognize the degree to which you've been indoctrinated into your community to accept utterly morally repugnant and false claims about the nature of morality, about moral historical actions, and about how to read portions of the Bible that are problematic, like First Samuel 15:3. But what that cognitive dissonance that results should do then is to bring you back to the text and to reject the underlying premise of this guy's commentary, which is that any critique of the biblical reading that you've been given by your community is a critique of God, right? The assumption that to question the way to read the Bible that your community gave you is to question God. That is one of the most profound, harmful assumptions. It's not true. Just as questioning the young earth creationist reading of Genesis 1 is not questioning God. So questioning whether we should read literally and historically First Samuel 15:3 that commands the slaughter of infants and small children is not thereby questioning God. It's questioning a reading tradition of the Bible. And those are very different things. And until we get this thorough recognition of this problem and the underlying grounds for it, such as this false assumption that questioning this reading is questioning God, until you get that thoroughly into the church, I think you're going to continue to have this problem of Christians who are willing to throw out these utterly immoral and profane and delusional defenses of child killing, such as that they are really demons masquerading as children.